Greetings everyone, I want to welcome you to another video from Saints Ministries, and in today's video we're going to tackle a question that was asked several times, and this has some link towards the resurrection of Jesus, the life of Jesus and the death of Jesus. And the topic that is circulated around this is the topic of the 3 days and the 3 nights. I'm sure many people who are in Christian circles, I'm sure they've heard of this verse before, that in the heart of the earth Jesus will be there 3 days and 3 nights. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to attempt to tackle this question, or to tackle the answer to this question, is because I've noticed that many people have a very different, varied views about what this could actually mean, and it's also caused quite a lot of division. And if we just take time to really study it slowly and carefully, we'll see what the answer is, but mainly because of the division that's come about. And I believe one of the main reasons why there's so much views is because people come with their own preconceived ideas. So they may take something that the world says, bring it into what the Bible says, and then try and come up with an answer, and the Bible's right in front of us. And I'm sure some of you that are watching have probably heard about this, and you also may not have a concrete answer to what this question is. So we're going to go through today answering the question about what does the 3 days and the 3 nights represent. Okay, let's begin. Matthew chapter 12 verse 40 says this: "For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth." Now, just from the outset, I just want to say that from this verse alone, I don't believe that this verse is talking about Jesus being in the grave 3 days and 3 nights. I'm going to explain what I do believe, but I'm also going to explain right now why I don't believe that that's the case. So I hope it makes sense as we go along. Now, I want to start with this verse, which I'm sure will obviously start to open things up and make more sense as to why I don't believe it. Matthew chapter 17 verse 23 says, "And they shall kill him, and the 3rd day he shall be raised again. And they were exceeding sorry." Luke chapter 9 verse 22 says, saying, "The Son of Man must suffer many things, and be rejected of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be slain, and be raised the 3rd day." Now, I'm sure it's very clear, as we've just seen the following verses in Luke and in Matthew, that Jesus Christ himself said that he will be raised the 3rd day. But he also mentions some events that transpire before that happens, that being rejection of the chief priests, the scribes, the Pharisees, and so on, and even also being killed. Now, as I've mentioned before, many people, they try to kind of connect the verses that I've just used to Matthew chapter 12 verse 40 because of the fact that there was a resurrection on the 3rd day, meaning he'll be in the tomb 3 days. But notice how Jesus himself actually causes a difference in these verses. I want you to see how he separates the notion of Matthew chapter 12 verse 40 and also the verses regarding his resurrection. Notice what he says. And I also want you to notice how they interpret the days based upon the things that they do on that day. It's going to make sense when I go into the verses. So let's now look at these verses. Luke chapter 13 verse 32 says as follows: "And he said unto them, Go ye and tell that fox, Behold, I cast out devils, and I do cures today and tomorrow, and the 3rd day I shall be perfected." So what do we see Jesus saying here? Well, for one, we don't see him expressing that he's going to be in the tomb for 3 days, but he actually mentions some events that's going to happen, and the 3rd day he's going to rise. Unless we're saying that Jesus did all these things in the grave, which is obviously not the case, because the Bible obviously explains that he did many things whilst he was alive. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Jesus himself clearly shows that he wasn't in the grave for 3 days. He says on day 1 he's going to be curing people, and the 2nd day also, but on the 3rd day he'll be perfected. Now, the other point that I said I will go through is the point of how they did things on certain days and how they measured the days so that we can understand how and what they did. So what I basically mean is that how did they measure the day in the sense of, was it a 24-hour day? So when they said, I'm going to do this for 3 days, was it 24-hour 3 days? We'll see. Let's go. Luke chapter 13 verse 32, we're going to read it again. It says, "And he said unto them, Go ye and tell that fox, Behold, I cast out devils, and do cures today, and tomorrow, and the 3rd day I shall be perfected." So notice, Jesus didn't express a 24-hour 3 days. He said today, which would have been any part of the day when he started, tomorrow, which would have been like pretty much the whole day, and the 3rd day, which would have been any part of the 3rd day. So it didn't matter at what time the event transpired on that day, as long as it happened on that day, that would have been counted as a day. Okay, hope that makes sense. Okay, so moving on, let's go back to the notion about Jesus Christ being raised on the third day, because we want to try and tackle this question in Matthew chapter 12 verse 40. Now, one thing that I've actually heard is when people said that Jesus rose on the third day, they imply that that means third day of the week. Now, obviously, I'm just trying to put in as much information as possible so that we can understand. But that can't be the case of Jesus rising the third day of the week, because as we look in the verses that we're going to see next, it's actually talking about 3 days in duration, not in days of the week. So what we need to do now is establish when the first day was regarding Jesus's 3-day duration, and we're going to see what day of the week that actually fell on. Matthew chapter 26 verse 34 says this. Jesus said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto thee, that this night before the cock crows, thou shalt deny me thrice. Okay, so this marks the first part of the day. Jesus is talking about the night just before he was arrested and taken to the chief priests. And as you continue to read the biblical account, he goes through trial on that same night, and then the next morning he gets scourged, he gets beaten, put forward in front of the people, taken to Herod, taken to Pilate, and then crucified on that same day. Now, after all these events transpired, the next clue that we have regarding Jesus' 3-day duration is in Luke chapter 23. Notice what it says. Luke chapter 23 verse 54 to 56 says, And that day was a preparation, and the Sabbath drew on. And the women also which came with him from Galilee followed after, and beheld the sepulchre and how his body was laid. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments, and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment. Okay, so the next clue that we've just established is based upon the fact that after Jesus was crucified, the Sabbath was drawing on. And the day before the Sabbath was known as Preparation Day. I'm just going to put these verses on the screen right now. These verses imply and show that the 6th day was the day of the preparation day, and not the 6th day, sorry, the 6th day of the week was preparation day. Now, the last clue that we're going to get just to round up Jesus's 3-day duration is now in Luke chapter 24, reading from verse 1. Now, upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came unto the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared, and certain others with them. Verse 2 says, And they found the stone rolled away from the sepulchre. Okay, friends, just so that I'm making sure that we're all understanding, let's now summarize everything that we just read, and let's now get an overall picture of what the Bible is saying. Okay, so on the 6th day of the week, which was the preparation day, Jesus was already on the cross and crucified. The first day of the week, Jesus rose from the grave, as we just saw in Luke chapter 24. And Jesus was arrested and put in trial the night before the preparation day. So now let's slot in all the days together, and we can finally understand what was going on throughout that 3-day duration. So we're going to work backwards so we can understand. The first day of the week is Sunday, which means Jesus rose on Sunday. Now that would mean that Jesus was in the tomb on the Sabbath day, which would be Friday sunset to Saturday sunset. Jesus was scourged, crucified, mocked before Pilate and Herod and so on Friday, because the woman prepared spices and ointments before the Sabbath, which was the preparation day. More specifically, that day would be Thursday sunset to Friday sunset, as the days were measured by the setting of the sun. You can read that in Genesis chapter 1. Therefore, the night before the preparation day would be Thursday night, as they arrested him the night before. So let's now look at it forwards. Thursday sunset to Friday sunset, the first day. Friday sunset to Saturday sunset, the second day. And finally, Sunday morning, the resurrection day. Therefore concluding that Jesus Christ highlights his 3-day duration of what his mission was during this time. Okay, I know that must have been a lot of information to take in, but I hope that it's all made sense as you actually now look at how Jesus highlights everything together. Now, the reason why I had to do it this way is because we now need to ask, what did Jesus mean by Jonah's sign about 3 days and 3 nights? Because what we've just established here shows that it cannot mean what that verse is talking about. It's something completely different. So what did Jesus actually mean? Well, this answer we're going to answer in part 2. Now, I had to do this in 2 parts simply because of the fact that there's a lot of information to take in, and I don't want to kind of just throw everything out in one go. I want us all to try and take in as much information as possible that we can handle, and then take it bit by bit. So the next part, we're going to head deeply into what this actually means. Okay, friends, well, thank you very much again for watching this video. I do pray that this has made sense. Please watch it a few times so that you're aware and you're able to understand fully of what it means. There's a phrase, repetition deepens impression. So please like, share and subscribe to this video and to this channel so that other people may have an opportunity to know what the truth is. And I pray that as you go through this video that it will make total sense about the 3 days and the 3 nights as we now head into part 2. Alright, thank you very much again for watching, and I will see you in part 2. God bless. Bye for now.